Good evening, everyone. I want to call this meeting to order. This is the Brawley City Council, successor agency to the Brawley Community Redevelopment Agency. Regular meeting agenda scheduled here May 7th, 2019 for 6 p.m. Could we get the roll call, please?
Councilmember Hamby.
Here.
Councilmember Couchman.
Here.
Councilmember Nava.
Here.
Mayor Wharton.
Here.
Mayor Pro Tem.
And with that, I'll mention thank you to our city clerk. Our Mayor Pro Tem is at another, one of her state obligations, one of the boards that she does sit on, so is regretfully missing this evening's meeting. We'll certainly be back for the next meeting, so I just want to briefly mention that. We'll go ahead and move. If we can stand, we'll have our invocation by Councilmember Hamby and our pledge by Councilmember Nava.
Let's pray. Almighty God, we are grateful to you tonight for our freedoms and for the blessings that you bestow upon us. I ask that your spirit of wisdom would fill this chamber this evening and that you would watch over these proceedings. I ask that you would watch over our community, our city, our employees. Give us safety, give us peace in this town. I ask that you would give us a special blessing of prosperity as we move forward in the coming years. That we would be able to meet our obligations, that we would be able to be generous with the people that work with us and with those that are in need. I ask that you would just bless this town. Thank you for the beauty of nature around us that we see in the springtime. And I ask that you would just be present tonight in these proceedings. In Jesus' name, amen.
Amen.
Please join me in the pledge. Ready? Begin.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you.
Thank you, Councilmember Nava, and thank you for the invocation there, Councilmember Hamby. And also, probably was a little remiss, but I do want to mention that we want to dedicate this meeting this evening to Mike Mello, and keeping Marjo Mello, our library director, in your hearts and minds and in your prayers. So we're obviously, as we always mention, the city, all of us that are associated with it, it is a family. So when we are hurting and we're mourning, we want to make sure that we keep Marjo in our prayers and her family. So again, we'll dedicate this meeting to Mr. Mike Mello. With that, I will move forward with our first item. Our first item is the approval of the agenda. So do we have a motion to approve? We have a motion.
I'll second.
We have a second. Call for the question. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Seeing none, we'll move to the next item, which will be our public appearances and comments. This is the period not to exceed 4 minutes. This is the time for the public to address the council on any items that are not appearing on the agenda and is within the subject matter jurisdiction of the city council. The mayor will recognize you when you come to the microphone. Please state your name for the record. You are not allowed to make personal attacks on individuals or make comments which are slanderous or which may invade an individual's personal privacy. Please direct your comments, any of your questions to the city council. I now open it up to public comment. Would anyone like to come up? Sure. Come on up.
Thank you, Gil Rebler, 261 West K. I'm going to tell you guys what to do tonight. No, I'm kidding. So chronic absenteeism is a huge issue in our school, not just our school district, but around the country, where students just simply are not attending schools. And students who attend schools may not have a chance, but students who do not attend do not stand a chance at success. And even missing 2 days a month equals about 2 weeks. So it doesn't sound like a lot, a student missing 2 days a month, but 2 weeks of education makes a big impact in a child in a year. So a few meetings ago, I proposed a resolution and we adopted it. It's to bring together elementary school officials, high school officials, Chamber of Commerce, and the city, and city officials to kind of have a team or a committee to how can we address this. And we've had some ideas, perhaps putting banners around the town I think that ties into beautifying, coloring it up, promoting attendance, promoting literacy, just kind of, that's just one of the ideas, but it's also just to get us all on board and communication, for us to be informed of issues that are going on within our schools and within our cities, and have us all get together on a monthly basis at first, and it could be as needed as it moves forward. And also, we just selected a new superintendent. It'll be official on the 14th, and I think that'd be a great way to introduce you guys to him and build that relationship. He will be in Brawley. He will live in Brawley. He will be a Brawley resident, and I think that's important for him to know you, and you welcome him as best as we can in Brawley, and allow him to meet your network and connections. So I will leave this resolution. We've adopted it at our schools, at our school district, and I'm hoping for it to be placed on a future agenda item here before you guys, and I'll be more than happy to come speak, as well as I'm sure Mr. Silva or our new superintendent. So I'll leave this here with Alma, and hopefully you guys can check it out and put it on the agenda. So thank you.
Very good. Thank you, Mr. Revelari. Keeping it open and public comments. Anybody else? Seeing none, we'll still remain here under public appearance and comments. I do want to move on the agenda. If I can have Guillermo Silas, our Public Works Director, come up. We have a presentation here for a new employee, utility worker. I'm saving the name for you, Guillermo.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor. I'm glad to present Mr. Javier Renteria, who is a Brawley resident for about 20 years. He's married with a 3-year-old son. He studied at IBC Water Technology, and he's certified as a D1. He worked previously as a temporary worker for Streets and Utilities Division. So I'm glad to introduce to Mr. Javier Renteria as a new employee to the City of Brawley.
Super.
Good evening, everybody. I'd just like to say thank you for this opportunity that's been given to me by the City of Brawley. Like you said, I've been a resident here for more than 20 years now. My goals here would be to continue moving up with my certifications, moving up in position, and in the future, and retiring as an employee of the City of Brawley. So once again, I just want to say thank you guys, and I'm going to do my best to do the best I can.
Fantastic. Excellent. Congratulations. We won't roast you, but we're always proud to hear, and it seems like there's a lot of upward mobility from within, so just great to see. So,
Congratulations, yeah.
Yep, and I didn't want to rob any of my council member of any count, but yep, we'll continue on. We will have another special presentation. That's the next item, and what I'll do is I'll hold, and we might be a little late on the appearance of one of the representatives, so just for everyone's information, maybe further down the meeting, we might circle back to that. So with that said, we're going to move forward to item 4. Unless I'm missing something, item 4, we'll go to consent agenda. These items are approved in one motion. Council members or members of the public may come up and request that an item be considered separately at a time determined by the mayor. So with that, do we have a motion to approve the consent agenda as presented?
Make a motion to approve the consent agenda as written.
We have a motion. Do we have a second?
Second.
All right. Well, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Seeing none. Motion passed. We'll move on to regular business, and that's item 5A. This will be the discussion and potential action to approve the first reading of ordinance number 2019-, ordinance of the City Council of the City of Brawley, California, amending the business license fee schedule for sidewalk vendors, formerly known as peddlers or solicitors. Backup materials on pages 71 through 78.
Mr. Mayor,
Yes.
on the agenda, the ordinance, we'd ask that you'd consider striking in the second to last section, it talks about sections of the Brawley Municipal Code that need to be repealed. I ask you to strike the references to sections, repealing sections 16.91 and 16.92. We've been determined that we actually still need those two sections. And it'll on the second reading, the language will be corrected.
Will be corrected. Okay, so as council considers action tonight, we'll move forward with the leaving the 16.91, or, yeah, and 16.92, correct?
We do not want to repeal those sections.
We do not want to repeal those sections, so I want to make sure that if we do have a motion to move forward on this first reading, that it is inclusive of 16.91 and 16.92. We'll open it up. Is there, other than that, if there's not a presentation or any, I'll open it up to council discussion. Any questions? I think we've tackled some of these issues in the past, but we don't see
So
none.
this particular action item came forward as a result of a new business that has opened in the city of Brawley, and that business made apparent the need for a revisit of city ordinance as it relates to sidewalk vendors. As council, I'm sure is aware, the laws beginning in 2019 changed significantly to accommodate different types of vendors that may operate within any city of the state of California. And so the intention associated with these changes is meant to comply with new state regulations to accommodate this type of business enterprise in our city limits. The city did have an opportunity to both work closely with the first vendor in the door, as well as with our Brawley Chamber of Commerce, to make sure that the elements that are under consideration, we had an opportunity to invite feedback on the proposed language changes.
Very good. Council, any clarification, questions? I think the backup material is pretty thorough, and clearly we just want to make sure that whoever does move forward with a motion this evening to move forward, that we're including the two sections referenced.
Striking the sections.
Yeah, inclusive, in the next reading we'll have it included. Do we have a motion to proceed?
Is there any concern from city staff?
Not at this time. This will allow for a daily rate to be translated into a quarterly rate for sidewalk vendors.
It's been an issue.
One thing I will point out is we were very careful to keep the higher daily rate that's charged during cattle call season. So many people do come to town just for that.
Right.
And that higher rate is definitely justified.
Just as a comment, I think I do get some feedback from fixed vendors, especially established businesses, that they feel like that's an unfair competition for them to have the sidewalk vendors. But I think we're going to continue to see sidewalk vendors. I think we see the Amazon stuff from the internet. Everybody's going to have to adapt in some way or another, because I just don't think that you can keep them out theoretically. That I think you have to make some accommodations, and so I think that's just the final outcome. And hopefully we can look at the fees as we progress in the coming years and see if it's creating a problem, if it's something that we want to enforce a higher level of payment, or if we want to figure out another way to do it. But I think it's kind of a movable thing, and we can change it whenever we want to.
It might be helpful for the city attorney to actually maybe highlight some of the limitations for the fee structure, for what we can and can't do from an action of the legislative body versus placing something on a ballot.
Right, so if we're, I think by default, many of the cities' business license ordinances have become to the point where really what they do, the fees generated pay for the service of going out and inspecting, making sure everybody's operating appropriately, getting all the proper permits. Even though the state law allows you to have a business license ordinance that allows you to raise revenue, the Constitution requires that type of an ordinance change to go to the ballot, which is expensive and we can't do till 2020. So this is in line with the type of an ordinance that the fees pay for the services provided.
Correct.
Not a revenue.
It's not revenue generated.
Not
It's a
revenue
wash probably at best in terms of.
At best, sir. At best.
Other questions?
Okay. Well, I'll make the motion.
All right, we have a motion. Do we have a second?
I'll second that motion, but just to clarify that you're excluding 16.91
Correct.
and 16.92, is that right?
Correct. That's correct.
All right, we have a motion and a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Seeing none, first reading is done. We'll forward to the second reading. We'll move to the next item under regular business, which will be 5B, discussion and potential action to adopt resolution number 2019 resolution of the City Council of the City of Brawley declaring an emergency, ratifying action taken by the city manager and approving emergency construction at the Brawley Water Treatment Plant to replace components of 2 sedimentation basins. Jerlick Mitchell, hopefully I'm saying that correct, Inc., in the amount not to exceed looks like $1,087,460 Euromosilis.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor. Again, as you might recall, this item was brought to the council toward the end of the last year with the emergency situation that we had with the 2 sedimentation ponds at the water treatment plant. And that time, a resolution was adopted for the to hire a company to perform the design of the plan and specifications for the purpose of the replacement of the sedimentation basin components. At that time, we also mentioned the potential future need for the construction on the same basis. And now the plans are completed and specifications, and the item that you have before you is to declare the emergency for the construction phase. Currently, the plan is operating exactly at the same situation when the initial emergency was declared. It's just that the chief of the plant and the operators were able to acquire some of the most basic and new elements and combine the existing components of the 2 basins to assemble just one. And it's been operating like that, and we anticipate that it will continue until the project is completed. So that's the reason that to avoid to take longer with the procurement process that will add between 4 or 6 months to the lead time and the submittals review, the job drawings, and the construction. So that's the purpose of the emergency declaration. I would like to introduce the plant chief that is here to provide a brief presentation, and also the design engineer with Liam Rowe that was the company selected for this effort. And if you want to save your questions until you see the pictures and the presentation,
Sure.
And they might answer anything that you ask.
And if you'd like to queue up the presentation, Guillermo, it's actually at the center of the screen there. Thank you. You can just go down to this one. Hard to see.
Just from the start.
Guillermo, just come down to here and click off this one, if you can see my finger.
Or the far left.
Or the far left, okay, you got it. Thank you.
Good afternoon, members of the council, members of the public. My name is Rudy Nunez, Water Plant Chief, here to provide a brief presentation. So we're going to talk about the sedimentation basins. It's not going.
Yeah.
Okay.
I think you
So-
skipped one, there you go.
There you go. So the city of Brawley Water Treatment Plant is designed to process up to 15 million gallons per day. I'm just going to read it from here. Yes. In my glasses.
Makes it a little difficult.
Okay. Brawley Water System was commissioned in April 1999 and incorporates several processes, of which it includes chemical addition, flash mixing, coagulation, flocculation, sedimentation, and filtration. The Brawley Water Treatment Plant has reached its 20th year anniversary, and our sedimentation basin components have reached and passed their life expectancy. Sedimentation components have a life expectancy from 3 to 8 years. The CIP capital improvement project was first identified in 2015, but other critical projects also were identified at that time, which included, and they were done actually, completed, Pump 421, raw water frequency drives, 2 finished water frequency drives, settling ponds, liners, and PLC replacement. So what happened is that on October 9th of 2018, staff observed the malfunction of the chain collection mechanism on both sedimentation basins. Water treatment plant staff was directed by the chief to assemble the chain mechanism using 90% old parts and 10% new stock parts. One sedimentation was brought online on the 13th, October 13th, so it took us about roughly 3 days. We had to make some adjustment within the process to mitigate the impact of the failure, that we were able to go back online. New parts that included chain links and sprockets were ordered, which it took like 4 weeks. So we can have a plan B in case of the first one should fail. The next slides are gonna show and depict some of the components that fail within sedimentation basins. So when we had the emergency, that's how it looked. Staff was there for some time, fixing it until we got it back online. Broken troughs that we paint and put corrosion inhibitors in order to keep it going as a preventive maintenance, but it's just up to the time that they no longer want to, work. We're making it work under specifications. And that's how it looks when it's working. So these are just depicts just one page of components. There's like 3 pages of more components, but I just put that one just to show you guys. Some parts, they go 5 years, 5 years, 8 years. So now we have 20 years, meaning that we have 2 to 3 times past their lifetime. So, yeah. So what happens if the system fails? Okay. Filters will sustain major hydraulic stress and can pose a failure in our filtration system. We will not be able to meet state and federal regulatory water quality limits. Public notice will need to be provided, and subsequently a boil order will likely be issued. If our filtration system also fails, water will not be available for delivery. This condition, as you guys notice, could pose a significant threat to property health and life due to the inability to produce safe and reliable drinking water. And my recommendation tonight is to proceed with the rehabilitation of the 2 sedimentation basins as soon as possible. And that's my presentation. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr.
Thank you.
Nunes. I know we have looks like a representative from Lee and
Mr. Jay Young from Lee and Rowe.
Hi, my name is Jay Jung. I'm from Lee and Rowe. We are the engineering consulting firm. So we involve the sedimentation basin, the rehabilitation project as a design engineer, and as Rudy recommended to the 2 sedimentation basins, so we have same opinion to fix and rehabilitate the collector mechanism, chain and plight, and the launder system as soon as possible. The reason why is as he explained, there are 2 sedimentation basins, the east and west. Currently, the west is out of service because the malfunctioning happening at the same time to the 2 basins. So the plant utilize the existing part from the west to the east. And then now the sedimentation basin is working properly. But since they are using some used item, so we don't know what will happen. Maybe tomorrow the plant will stop, or we don't know, a month later will stop. But since that the equipment lasts for 20 years, maybe that will come maybe soon.
Sooner.
Yeah, sooner. So now only one basin is working, another basin is empty. So if this one is gone, the east basin is gone, there are no treatment process, then the plant cannot generate any potable water. So this is the kind of emergency situation. So we have to make the system back to the new condition, nearly new condition. So I agree with Rudy and the Gilmore, the opinion to replace all the collector mechanism and launder, maybe right now, if you can.
Sure.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you. And if, in case we have questions, I'm going to open it up to council. If you can just stand by there. My quick just comment I want to make is, I think it was referenced in here or in the presentation back in 2015. I know that as council we went through some of the critical capital improvements throughout the city's infrastructure, and all this was also framed going into the 218 process that we went through with the water rates. So just again, for the public's understanding as well as ours, of course, moving forward, this is obviously, it's under an emergency declaration. In others, really, we need to fast track this and understand that, but we have certainly identified this as something that needed to happen. And I think as council, we not only approve that, I just want to kind of confirm from a budget standpoint, it is $1 million spend. It is tagged to the water fund, but is just from that standpoint, budgeting-wise, this is
a project that was actually scheduled in the council-approved budget for 18-19. It was estimated at $1.2 million, so we're coming in under. And really, the purpose for the emergency procedures is to fast-track procurement. In the absence of the fast track, we would elongate the timeline by an additional 4 to 5 months to go through a traditional pathway. And we're kind of playing a game of odds at this point. If the opportunity's here to accelerate and accomplish the improvement, the faster the better for the public and our ability to treat water.
Okay, super. So thank you, Rosanna. We'll open it up to council. Questions, comments?
You answered my question. I wanted to confirm that it is coming from something other than the general fund. It's from the water treatment fund, and the money's there to do this. So that was.
And not just that. If we're looking at a 10 or 15-year shelf life, even though it's probably beyond the engineered time, I mean, you're looking at $80,000, $75,000 a year. So I mean, it does need to be done. I know we're not following a conventional procurement process, but we can't operate without water in the city. So that's one thing that never stops it flowing. And so anyway,
And kudos to staff for making it.
Yeah, no doubt.
Making it last this long.
And plus, I mean, summer's right around the corner. So
I don't think we have a choice, and I think that with one of the ponds down, at least they'll be able to maybe work on that one first. I'm not sure how the protocol works, but would they work on the one that's down and refurbish that one and then leave the other one operating and then start that one back up and then go to the other one? How do they normally do that?
We can stress it. We can actually, the plan is rated to 15 MGD, but we can stress it to 20 MGD. So meaning one sedimentation basin can be stressed up to 10 MGD.
Okay, but we don't want to stress it too much.
We don't want to stress it too much
because then it goes kaboom, then we got a problem. So, but basically, you'll work on the one that's down right now. You'll do that one probably first, well, I'm assuming, and then you'll go to the other one after that, and you can shut them down and use each one, since we can get by with one right at the present time. I mean,
that's
so
the plan.
it's good to have the backup too, though. So, yeah, I mean, I don't think we have any choice.
Mr. Mayor, could I ask the city engineer to explain why going the normal route would add the delay? It's important it's in the record.
Absolutely.
Could you please repeat your question?
So just explain to the council why it would take so much longer if it went out to bid the traditional way.
Right, because the way that we're prepared the plan and specification right now was in conjunction with manufacturers to use a certain type or let's say one of the best in the industry leaders for this type of components. As you can imagine, you cannot find them easily, so it has to be manufactured for a specific project. And if we were going to change to do the normal procurement process, the plans will need to be changed or modified and specifications to make it for open bids. Let's say that can be a brand or a equal. So it has to be to make a competition, right? So we would have to change the plans. That may take probably 2 to 3 months or so to change those. And then advertisement for about 30 days, then council award for about 15 more days, then the execution of all the documents about another 15 days, and notice to proceed another 15 days, which is about 4 to 5 months longer than the already, I believe that is 9.5 months that will take bypassing the procurement process. So we are talking about 14 months to complete the project. So if we start today, it will take us 14 months to complete the project.
And if I could add a comment there too, I know I read in the backup material with respect to, and that's always a concern, you don't want to necessarily go against the procurement process, but in this case, because of the uncertainty of the system and the delay, it could result, the way it's written in our report is, should the city experience failure of one or more components, water quality will be compromised, necessitating public noticing up to and including boil water orders. So that's the public health hazard that it would pose if it were to fail. So because of the time delay, we're not certain, since we're using old components to make one functional basin, we're not sure if they will, I mean, they could last 10 months, but that's uncertain. If it fails next week or in 2 months or in a month,
in reality,
we don't have the time to.
The emergency will be until the project is completed, because it can fail as
it's being constructed, right? Yeah,
So if I'm correct, this is an emergency sole source funding from a specific manufacturer or whatever we're looking at here. I doubt that there's a lot of manufacturers of this type of equipment, but there may be more than one out there. But so we're declaring an emergency, and we're considering this an emergency, and it'll be a sole source funding, and we have to justify that, and that's what we're attempting to do.
And that's the reason for the question. I want to make sure that it's in the minutes that this delay, it's not a couple of weeks.
Right.
It's like
months.
Right.
Okay.
And Mr. Cias he explains it very well, but it's important that it's in the record to understand why we have to go this different route.
Right,
Okay.
it's not the normal course of
Gotcha.
business.
Yeah, I got it.
And using, again, relatively round numbers, but as I cited, the total amount, including the contingency, it came in at $988,000. We were budgeted at 1.2, so if you add the contingency, it still brings it approximately a little over $100,000 below. So I think we're fortunate in that as well, going through this, the emergency declaration route. So do we have any other questions, comments from council? Seeing none. We want to move forward. We have a motion.
I'll make a motion to approve and adopt the resolution 2019- declaring an emergency and ratifying action taken by the city manager.
We have a motion. Do we have a second?
I'll second it.
We have a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Seeing none. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank
Thank you.
you,
Thank you.
Leanne Rowe, Rudy, and Guillermo.
Thank you, everyone.
What I'd like to do, and I do see Mr. Corsalino came back, so maybe at this point, we're out of regular business. I'm going to jump back to special presentation. And if you'd like, we have our representative, Mr. Corsalino, up here. If you want to stand up here, and I'll take the opportunity here to read an official city proclamation. And for the public and everyone listening, this is in honor of Veterans Appreciation Month, May 2019. And whereas the people of Imperial Valley appreciate and admire the thousands of men and women who have served in the armed forces to protect and serve and preserve their country and the freedoms enjoyed by all Americans, and whereas in war, international conflicts, and peacekeeping missions, men and women have wounded, taken as prisoners, and died in the line of duty. And whereas the veterans possess a wide variety of valuable qualities, including experience, maturity, leadership, and loyalty that make them ideal candidates for employment. And whereas the City of Brawley City Council is committed to ensuring that veterans receive the services and programs to which they are entitled and promoting employer interest in hiring veterans. And whereas during Veterans Appreciation Month, state and local agencies increase employer awareness about the benefits of hiring veterans. Now therefore be it resolved, I, Donald L. Wharton, Mayor of the City of Brawley, California, proclaim the month of May 29th as Veterans Appreciation Month.
Hoorah.
Maybe before we come down, Mr. Corsellino, do you have any comments? And I'd like to come down maybe with council and we'll present this to you and get a picture, but I do want to give you the microphone.
Well, once again, I want to thank the city council and everybody who works for the city for doing this for the veterans every year. And I don't know if you're aware of it, Thursday at 11, we're having our annual Veterans Appreciation it'll be at the EDD this year in the big conference room. But anyway, thank you all, and I'd like to thank all the veterans that are in here and all that served, especially the ladies. It's Ladies' Year.
All right.
And I salute everyone, and especially you, Air Force. So, well, thank you very much. I appreciate the honor, and God bless all of you, and God bless America.
All right.
Thank you, Lee. We'll stay right there. We'll come on down. If council would join me for this photo. And we have our award-winning media representative.
Yeah.
All right, thank you very much, everyone. Appreciate it.
Thank you very much.
Very good. And that'll take us to the next item on the agenda, which is item 6, our departmental reports. 6A is our monthly staffing report from Ms. Shirley Bonias, Personnel and Risk Management.
Honorable Mayor, council members, Shirley Bonias, Personnel and Risk Management. Just keep on recruiting. That's what we're doing. Dispatcher interviews have been scheduled. May 15th, we hopefully have a winner, at least one or two in that pool. Police officer, we have one in backgrounds right now, and we have one available opening. And we're still in the recruitment process for a Streets and Utilities Assistant Supervisor. And of course, the summer positions have been opened, so a lot of youth coming to visit me to get applications. We also are seeking a temporary general laborer to assist both parks, streets and utilities, and our animal control officer might be going out for some medical leave, so we need a replacement. So we're looking for a temporary employee to possibly help us out there. And of course, we'll always be glad to answer any questions you may have.
Very good, from our former Marine. So,
Hoorah.
any questions? Reports in the backup material. Thank you. I just want to make the comment every year, this time of year, when we do bring on our summertime help. I know many of our youth get their first jobs or their first work experience here with the city. So I know all of us are very proud of that as well, and certainly thank staff for helping to support and facilitate that. And I know you do a great job. So again, just want to make that comment.
Thank you, Mayor.
Absolutely. All right, we'll move on to item 7, which is informational reports. 7A is a record of building permits for March 2019, prepared by Oscar Escalante, our interim building official, and it is in the backup material 103 to 104.
Those are just provided for council and the public's information.
Very good. And as with item 7B as well, which is the attendance summary and minutes of the City of Brawley Boards and Commissions from January 1 through March 31st, 2019, which includes the Brawley Airport Advisory Commission, Parks and Rec Commission, and the Brawley Planning Commission. So unless there's that information is provided for your information, we'll move on to item 8, which will be our council member report, and we'll begin with council member Hamby.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I don't have a lot to report, but I briefly stopped by the IVC Hall of Fame banquet at a Del Rio Country Club to congratulate Jim Hanks. I attended a boot committee and chamber cleanup event that was also near Del Rio Country Club at the Welcome to Brawley sign. And I do want to invite people the last Friday of each month. Katie Luna from the chamber has set up a cleanup event each Friday morning, the last Friday of the month. And it's a fun time to get together and make a little difference on something that needs some help. I got to attend the May the 4th Be With You event at the library on Saturday. My wife forced me to dress up like Han Solo.
That's not
Forced you?
That's not what she said.
She used the force.
Yeah, she used the force.
That's not what she told me.
I was born the same year Star Wars came out, and my parents named me Luke.
It's not biblical?
After the Bible, after Luke in the Bible, but I've suffered from this all my life.
But the Skywalker part?
Yeah,
I
the
don't get
Skywalker
that.
part.
You know what I mean? Yeah.
I briefly attended the mega mixer that the chamber put on last night at the Hidalgo Hall. And lastly, I just want to invite everyone to attend a NOCA production that's going to take place at Palmer Auditorium next weekend, not this weekend, the 17th, 18th, and 19th. They're putting on a production of Disney's Newsies, and I am in the production as Mr. Pulitzer, the bad guy. So come if you want to see me sing and dance a little bit, more so than I do up here behind the dais. That's it for my report.
Very good. Thank you, Councilmember Hamby. Councilmember Couchman.
Okay, I also attended the IVC Alumni Hall of Fame dinner out at the Country Club. I also attended Saturday the Star Wars comic book giveaway event at the library, as Luke did also. It was a nice event, a lot of kids there, and we had a good time. And then I attended the Energy Summit at IVC, the IVEDC Energy Summit here locally. It ran 3 days. I did attend that out at IVC. I also attended the Desert Wildlife Unlimited Banquet the other night at our Lions Center. It was a nicely attended event. I attended a large 70th birthday party at the Stockmans. It wasn't for me, I'm not 70, but a lot of the locals had a big party and we were invited, and that was last night at the Stockmans Club, by about 200 people. I did go to the IID meeting and attended that on the 30th, and kudos to the IID for agreeing at that meeting to fund 75% of the underground into the Best Canal. That's quite an accomplishment, and we appreciate the support of IID on that. And so hopefully that will move through in the next couple of months, and we'll see where we stand with that. But 75% of the money is quite a bit of money, so about $1 million plus. So that's a good thing. I did have a brief meeting with Mr. Coyne regarding a tour of his project, and I went on that tour of his project with him. He did explain some things to me, and he will be coming back, I think, towards the end of the month, come back before the council, and we'll have some additional discussions on that potential project. And that's all I have to report right now.
Thank you, Councilmember Couchman. Councilmember Nava.
Well, I was able to attend the SCAG conference, the annual conference that was in Palm Desert this past week. A lot of good information, but it also gave us an opportunity for some local elected officials from Imperial County to meet directly with our Assembly member, Eduardo Garcia, and he got us up to date with what's happening with the assembly bill that's been proposed, adding board members to the IID. So he has his own opinion, and I think you can hear his comments on KXL Radio. I think it's important to listen to what he has to say. But it gave us a little bit more insight of what's taking place. I think it's an important matter, especially for water and, of course, for power. But it certainly is of importance to us here in Imperial County. So keep an eye on that, and please, be informed of that. I think it's very important. But it gave us a good opportunity to speak to him directly. So that was important. Also, I think I may have mentioned this last time, but I'm not sure. But I did get to participate very briefly at the Renewable Energy Summit and got to see some people from out of town and things that they're working on. And in a couple weeks back, we did have the housing event over with Chelsea. And that was, I'm not sure, again, I know we cut our report short this last time, but that was also an important groundbreaking for us, and for that project.
Did some shoveling?
We did some shoveling. They wanted me to dig some ditches, and it was just a little too warm. But no, but those are good things. I also did attend Dancing with the Stars just in support of, yeah, right. And so, that's right. And Sam was there, of course. Yeah. So, and Marcela Piedra, the city manager for El Centro, is actually there to support her, and she did very well. She ended up winning. So, congratulations to her. Other things, of course, meeting with some local business officials and others, but that's my report for now. So, thank you.
Very good. Thank you, Councilmember Nava, and I want to thank my council members again, busy across the board with lots going on. Just a couple little things I'm going to report out is, I know I kind of briefly mentioned it, but I do want to offer the sincere congratulations to Desert Review, Brawley Zone, for being recognized with that award. Perhaps we can do something a little bit more official, down the road. But again, Lloyd, for you and Betty, congratulations on that. And outside of that, I've had continuing just more one-to-one discussions. Certainly, I think it was mentioned on some developer Latigo Ranch project. Certainly had some conversation around that. But also, I have continued conversations with the airport, and I just want to bring that up. I think it was mentioned by a citizen during public comment a meeting ago. But I do want to come back potentially and maybe discuss with staff on what some of the future potential is with the city of Brawley Municipal Airport. So I just want to put that on the radar, and I'll be reaching out and maybe having some further discussion with staff what the possibilities are there. Outside of that, just a little reminder, I don't have the exact dates, but May is also National EMS Week is, I think it's the third to the last week, but don't quote me on that. Certainly with the industry that I come from, I certainly want to recognize those folks when that week comes up. So maybe the next meeting we can just make sure all of council is aware of that. And there are some various events that do happen around the valley, but certainly recognizing our first responders there on the front line, and we're very proud of obviously Brawley's. So again, with that, I have no further comment. We'll move to the city manager's report, item 9.
Just 2 items to report out on. The first is that along with finance and many of our city departments, we have been working to address action items that came out of the general fund workshop, and I hope in the next meeting of the city council to take up a couple of potential policies that will help to guide budget preparation on a going forward basis. They will include taking a closer look at 100% cost recovery from city leagues on a going forward basis, as well as a policy that might consider cost recovery of other services that are more of loss leaders, but do recognize that at least some level of cost recovery will be structured into the program in future years. So that might be looking at something like a 10 to 20% recovery rate on any of the programs that we annually run that are an expression of the city's values as a service delivery system, but may not be possible to charge the exact amount of 100% cost recovery. So hoping to get some policy guidance from the body in the near future, and that will very much guide the manner in which we prepare final numbers for your consideration and, before the end of this fiscal year. Also wanted to express my appreciation to the Public Works Department, specifically for addressing a very difficult water break that affected Stockman's the night of a dinner that was scheduled, food preparation underway. An incredible effort was undertaken on the part of our streets and utilities personnel to keep water running and ensure that the event could still take place. And I was just personally so impressed to find in the morning before 8:30 the line that had been exposed and a very wet situation the night before was back in place where it needed to be. The parking lot repairs were very much underway, and service was restored, which in a traditional way, not off of a hydrant. So we were very happy to be able to ensure that the public was served and minimize the interruption, which comes sometimes with aged infrastructure. So my compliments to our Public Works personnel that really went the extra mile to make it happen.
Rosanna, can we just echo that and make sure that, Guillermo, if you can, make sure that's extended to staff, because those are the things I think, I know Councilmember Nava, Councilmember Couchman, of course, Hamby, we all echo that. These are the things that kind of go unnoticed sometimes and taken for granted in the city, but again, it's when those things happen, they have a direct effect on our citizens and members of the public. So it's not to be overlooked, so truly appreciate that.
And that's all I have to report at this time.
Very good. We'll move on to item 10. Thank you for that. City Attorney's report.
So I'm happy to report we have a fully signed, executed settlement agreement in the Garcia versus City case. That's just our portion of the case, so it looks like we're out of it, and now I'm going to put some pressure on the new owners to at least put a fence around that mess over there. And the other thing is on Friday the 17th, across the street at DS Arts Gallery Night. Everyone's invited. It's open to the public. It's been going on. I've lost track how many years. But it's going to be tacos and no beer. So to bring your own.
In a paper bag.
Very good. Thank you for that. And
Mr. Mayor, because just with reference to that property for the public's benefit, that is the mobile home property.
The mobile home park.
Yeah, the mobile home park next to Woodard School.
Right.
Yeah.
very good. Thank you. Item 11, City Clerk's report.
Nothing to report.
Seeing none, then before council moves to closed session, I will make an announcement. On May 21st, our next meeting is a special meeting, so that is workshop number 2. Would certainly encourage any members of the public here today and anyone else that is not here to attend. It is the Enterprise and Special Funds Workshop, where we'll be discussing the budgets for those respective funds, as we touched on today with the water funds. So again, I invite the public. That is a 5 p.m. start.
Yes.
So that's the only thing I do want to point out. And we will take a brief break, and the council will